So we all know that Rudolph the Reindeer is a pretty terrible song, right? Michael Schaefer writing about this over in the New Republic. Santa's too cheap to buy headlights, and so he's got to get this, alcoholic reindeer or something. He's got a bright red nose, but the other reindeer are all bullies, and Santa puts up with it, and there's all this kind of weird stuff. But that's nowhere near as weird as Megyn Kelly going off on this. Well, Santa Claus is white. I'm assuming the corollary to that is Santa Claus speaks English. I lived in Germany for a year. Santa Claus spoke German over there. Ellen Ratner, I was at her home last night. Grover Norquist dropped by. It was very interesting. Anyway, at Ellen's house last night, and she's just back from South Sudan, where I've been there with her, and to Darfur. And there's a large, Christianity's made a big dent in South Sudan, and Christmas is a big celebration there. And Santa speaks Dinka over there, and looks like a black guy. So, what's the deal here? What's going on? I find this all very, very interesting. Kevin Jackson is with us. Excuse me, Kevin. Conservative commentator and host of The Black Sphere and contributor to the Daily Caller. TheBlackSphere.net is the website. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Tom. Good to talk to you again.
Thanks for joining us, or thanks for being back with us. You're African-American. What are your thoughts on growing up black in America, where all the positive symbols, whether it's beauty, is white, all of the ladies on the covers of the magazines, whatnot, and Santa is white. I mean, isn't that what do you feel about? How did you feel about that?
Well, I'm glad you're concerned, Tom. First of all, I don't believe that all the quote positive images were white. I will admit that growing up, a lot of times with the publications that were out there, Ladies' Home Journal or Vogue or whatever, they tended to have white women, dominating, or
even the good porn was mostly white women, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that you'd have to ask somebody else.
Playboy Penthouse. I mean, I remember that stuff when I was a kid.
I remember a lady in Playboy. She ended up in a Michael Jackson video, and I know she was a Playboy centerfold back when I was in high school. But anyway, I never thought of Santa Claus as white or black. He was a figment, and he was as a poor black kid growing up in America. I was always happy that he was there. Right. So I never thought about it in terms of color. And what's interesting
did your dad play Santa? Did he dress up?
Yeah,
were there black Santa role models in your neighborhood and community?
Nobody thought about Santa as black or white, but I will say this: when my mom married my stepfather, and I talked about this in my article, my stepfather played Santa 1 year, but they were together 1 year before my mother died. Yeah. So he played Santa. But what was interesting about it was we knew he wasn't. It was obviously him.
Right, but it was you didn't know he wasn't because he wasn't white. You knew he wasn't because you knew Santa wasn't a real guy.
No, I was young at that time. I believed in Santa.
Uh-huh. But you knew this was your stepfather.
But I knew that the guy playing Santa that evening when my mother woke me and my brother up was not Santa. It was obvious to me and my brother that it was my stepfather because Santa was black. He was really skinny, and we knew he had a pillow in his Santa outfit. Yeah. But they wanted to do something to sort of reinforce this concept. So, but the point of it is this, and this is where I have a problem, Tom, with all the protection that we have to have from Santa Claus as black people, is this lady Aisha Harris, who wrote the article, the one that Megyn Kelly was talking about, made the comment that she felt less as a black person, like there was some problem with her because Santa was white. And I'm thinking, what parent would let their child suffer from that? That's not a Santa problem. That's a Aisha and her parents' problem. If Santa were black, or let's use something that you white folks can think about. That George Washington Carver was black, but I don't think you have a problem with peanut butter. So what is the big deal?
Well, I don't think most Americans realize that George Washington Carver invented peanut butter, and if they do, it's sort of that oh, here's the one thing that one black guy did during the scientific history of the United States.
So that's the
It's
problem.
almost tokenism. But
the problem there is ignorance, because black people have contributed greatly to the fabric of America.
I know that, and this, but as a society, as a culture, I mean, Dick Gregory does a wonderful riff on this in his album, The Light Side, The Dark Side, that came out back in the late 60s, early 70s, about how we say, somebody went to the light side, they went to the dark side, right? To say good or bad. So, he's got a black heart. That means he's a bad guy.
What about your financial statement? If you're in the red, you're in bad shape. Do Indians get mad? If you're in the black, you're in good shape.
Well, I don't think that suggests, that's the exception that proves the rule, I think.
Really? What about a black hole? It's the most powerful thing in nature. It's the most powerful thing in the universe, is the fact that it's a black hole. Look, we can parse these things. We don't. This is where I have a problem with the left. They always want to look at things from a black perspective and try to get me to feel guilty. I feel less like, Kevin, you didn't grow up with a black Santa, so why didn't you feel worse? Why don't you feel worse about America? I don't have to. I'm confident in myself.
I wasn't asking the question how you felt about America.
Well, just the idea of, you've had all these images that show white people as good and black.
Well, ultimately, Kevin, let's not personalize this. Isn't it okay to say to little black kids that there might be a black Santa?
I think it's disingenuous to first of all, Santa's a figment. Let's just admit
so
that.
if he's a fictional character, can't he be any race?
But if he's a fictional character, then why don't you make Hansel and Gretel black? Why don't you make Daffy Duck black? Why don't you make every
Daffy Duck is black.
Okay, well, good point. The point is, why don't you racialize everything? We don't need protection from a figure of good. And it's okay, Tom, if you white people have a symbol that we black people go, you know what? That white guy's not that bad. It's okay. We're going to survive it.
Right.
We've got enough imagery in the black community with real people, the Oprah Winfreys, the Barack Obamas.
I don't disagree with all of that, Kevin. I think that's a very, very rational perspective. But then a white beauty queen comes on and says, oh, by the way, kids, and she's speaking to all the children of America, including the black kids of America, Santa's white, and so is Jesus. Just get over it.
Well,
isn't that over the top?
Well, no. Well, first of all, the fact that she says Santa is white, she's right. That there's nothing wrong with her being right. Santa Claus was created by the Dutch, and then it went to Germany and other places. So she's not wrong about that, and it's okay.
But it's based on a saint who was a Turk, who today would be profiled by the NSA.
Well,
because of the color of his skin. He wasn't African American, but he was kind of almost North African American.
You can say it was based on that, but the point is that at some point it became he became an iconoclast in the idea of American by a guy.
It's a Northern European tradition.
Northern European tradition. So the point is that it has nothing in Africa in it, nothing about black people in it. So it's okay. We will survive this. If blacks need our own icons, we can create them, and we can perpetuate them any way that we choose. Now, the idea that blacks feel that we need to colorize Santa to make him black to make our kids feel better, I think is a sign of weakness. What it says.
I think it was a sign of weakness when Hasbro came out with Black Barbie and started having black dolls for little black girls to play with. What's wrong with that?
I don't believe that it's a sign of weakness. Hasbro can come out with a Barbie that is a black doll. It doesn't have to be.
I think that's just meeting a marketplace. I mean, if somebody's going to be doing Santa coloring books for kids in the black community, why not have
no argument? Santa? No argument with that.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Kevin Jackson, conservative commentator, host of The Black Sphere, contributor to the Daily Caller, the website The Black Sphere, SPHERE.net. Kevin, thanks for a very reasonable conversation. I appreciate you dropping by.
My problem.
Good talking with you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. We'll be back.